My love, I will hold on to your touch till there's nothing left of us. Save you from this life in the cold weight and the Rockies touch won't take away our love. Save you from this life.
For all being here at the Havana Theater with me tonight. Thank you so much for coming and checking out How I Killed My Nan. Welcome to the show. Welcome. My name is Dion Arnold. This is a show that I've done for the past year. It's called How I Killed My Nan, and that's the title that I chose for it. Yeah. And Winnipeg made me regret it. Yeah, there were people that didn't come to my show because they thought it was a confession. So funny. People left the show afterwards happy they saw it, being like, we almost didn't see it. Too scary. I was like, I'm sorry you got taken in by marketing? It's just a title. I don't know if you know anything about, but that's not how murder works. You don't get to do it and tour it. It's insane, but that is what it is about. It's about my grandmother because she did pass over. She passed over 2 years ago, and she passed over into the hologram realm. Yeah, where she now lives with Tupac, which is pretty cool. Yeah, and I get to call her holograms, so that's fun. It's just a bunch of fun grandma jokes, guys. Let's get into it early, huh? All right. And that is, by the way, my theory on the afterlife. I think that's how it works. Everyone has their theories, you know, Christians, Catholics, Cthulhu's, they all have their theories on the afterlife, and mine is that you just get to go live with your favorite rapper. That's my theory. Anybody here have a favorite rapper? B40, thank you. Somebody isn't going to hell. Great. Anybody else have a favorite rapper? Yeah? Buck 65. Nice, nice. Canadian. Yeah. Anybody else? Do you have a favorite rapper? Biggie? Yeah, Salt and Pepper Forever. Sick, right? Do you have a favorite rapper? No, that's called Purgatory. That's okay. A lot of other people are apparently going to be there too. It's going to be fine. When my grandmother had it figured out, her favorite rapper was Tupac, and if you don't know who Tupac is, he's a rapper. Yeah, he's also a thug. Yeah, he's also a hologram, and for that last reason, he is my grandmother's roommate. So he's real cute, and it kind of makes me want to go visit now more than ever, you know? And obviously, holograms is the name that I had for my whole life. Growing up, I had a very different, that's a recent occurrence, obviously. You know, I had a very different name for her growing up. Growing up, I used to call her Jeans. That was my name for my grandmother growing up, was Jeans. I have no idea where it comes from. I'll tell you this, it does not have Latin roots. I'm pretty sure it comes out of severe jealousy. Because growing up, every other kid in my school has like a Bubba or a Nona or a Teta or an Oma or an Emma or a Grangi or a Babushka. Anybody have anything cool like that? Yeah, what did you have? You had an Oma? Oh, fucking cool for you. So how I feel about that. What did you have over here? Cool. That's a new one. Sorry, can you say it a little louder? A fengwa? See, I'm white. That's amazing. That's so cool. I'm so fucking jealous. That's how I felt growing up. Every other kid had like a cool grandma, and I was just, is anyone else with me? I was just a basic-ass white bitch. So I just had a grandmother. It was very boring, and everyone was like, I'm gonna go visit my Nona. She makes dope latkes. And I was like, cool, I'm gonna go visit my grandmother. She smells like a bingo hall. I was always very jealous of these kids, and there was a kid in my school that even had a kukuwahin, which is the coolest one I'd ever heard until fengwa. Kukuwahin is so cool. It sounds like a ride at Space Mountain. I was so jealous. And so I started calling my grandmother my Jeans. Kukuwahin really bugged me. I was really, really jealous because it's not only Hawaiian, it's also bullshit. Yeah, because I grew up in rural Alberta. You're called bullshit on your kukuwahin right now. Right now. Foot down. I don't believe this at all. So I started calling my grandmother Jeans because fuck your Nona. That's why. I was a very jealous child, and sort of compensate, I started calling her Jeans. And Jeans quickly turned into Jeans McCruisin, you know? Yeah, because she was just always cruising. She was a hustler. She lives with Tupac now. I don't know if you noticed. And she just had this amazing pace to life, no matter what. And that was what I really loved about her the most. She just was so busy. Even in her 90s, she played bowling, bocce, and bridge every single day. She did the crossword every single morning. She went to church once a week so we can see where her loyalties lie. I love that pace because it actually meant that if you called her, you were interrupting her life. It was amazing. I couldn't keep my own grandmother on the phone for more than a minute and a half. I'd call her and be like, hey, Grandma, how are you? And she'd go, what? I'd be like, I just called the chat, see how you're doing. She'd go, cool, call your brother. That was her response every single time because you were interrupting her life. And I love that about her. And it also meant that I ended up, when she passed, I got a tattoo, not only to memorialize her and her life, but also that pace that she kept. Let's see if I can get it out. Probably not. I wore 2 shirts. I'm an idiot. One of them's wool. You're going to see me sweat tonight. I got a tattoo of her, not only to memorialize her, but that pace of life. And it's of my grandmother riding a bicycle. James McCruisin, you know? Let's be clear on something. I met her at 72. Never saw her ride a bicycle. On the bike riding mood at that point, but it just fits her aesthetic so perfectly. It also has her catchphrase there, which is, does anyone else have a grandmother that had a catchphrase? Not such a basic-ass white bitch anymore, am I? My grandmother had an amazing catchphrase, rivaled by maybe only one. My favorite one that an audience member has come forward with was out of Edmonton. Her grandmother's catchphrase was, Grandma don't like to wait. That's so sick. Like mic drop. That should be a rap song right there. So good. And my grandmother's was very similar. My grandmother's catchphrase was, anyway. That was it in its entirety. She would use it all the time, whether or not it was appropriate. No matter what was being done or what was being talked about, Grandma was over it. You could literally walk up to her and be like, Grandma, I'm going through a divorce right now. I could just like really use you right now. And she'd look at you and go, anyways, I'm 90, bye. And she'd wander off. She wasn't trying to say that your problem is insignificant. It's just that she's been through it 3 times and she's not dealing with it again. She's also trying to tell you that it's not the end of the world. She's been through it 3 times. You're going to get through it. I love that about her, and I love that mentality to life and always just keeping moving and keeping that busy. And so that's why I'm doing this show. I've got to tour it across Australia, New Zealand, and Canada this year. And I'm really just trying to keep up to how extra my grandma was. So I'm going to tell you the story of where Anyways came from and how Anyways came to be. And in order to do that, I'm going to start where I think stories are supposed to start, at the beginning. So we're going to move back before 96 and before I meet her at 72. My grandmother is, in fact, a baby. Yeah. She was 0. She was a baby for 72 years. It's very difficult. My grandmother grew up in Bangor, Saskatchewan. It's a rural farmland in the middle of the country, and obviously that being the case, her first car growing up was a John Deere tractor. Does anyone here know how to drive a tractor? What, 2? 3 people? Does everyone else know how to slam a bottle of Jack Daniels? Everyone else. Yeah, that's what I thought. You all now know how to drive a tractor. It's not that difficult. And they say crop circles are unexplainable, but. The other thing that they love doing growing up, because it is Canada, they love skiing, so they always go cross-country skiing because it's Saskatchewan, the downhill team's not doing so hot. And every time my grandmother's this extra person always wants to mix it up, and she always suggests, hey, why don't we go cross-country skiing naked instead? Yeah. It's the 40s. I don't know if you guys remember nudity in the 40s, but that was nudity in the 40s. And at 26, my grandmother ended up meeting and marrying my grandfather, probably in the same day. It's the 40s. And called him the Jeep because he's a big Wrangler. He's a big boy. And I'm currently 26, just for a little bit of context. I'm currently 26 in the back of the Havana restaurant, nice little theater, telling 40 people, maybe, if I'm being generous to myself, my grandmother's life story. That's where I'm at 26. She was getting married, doing big people things, you know? I love that about her, and I love getting to be here. And I'd like to ask you guys at 26, after you just got married, it's the 40s, what's the first thing you would do? Boom, that's right. Have a baby! Nailed it. Second thing.
Get a bottle of Jack.
Bottle of Jack. Great. Love it. Genius.
Have another baby.
That's right. Thank you. Yes. More babies. More That one's not theirs. That's a neighbor kid. Not there. Too much hair. Too much hair going on. That's young Elvis. He lived down the street. Just came by for a little nose pick and a photo bomb. Sometimes when they were like, hey, we have this like family now. Why don't we do something as a family? And they're like, yeah, let's go on a vacation. So they pack up the kids, and they pack up the car, and they drive to the happiest place on earth. That's right. A lake. Yeah, because it's Winnipeg, and that is the happiest place in Winnipeg. And it's also my grandfather's happiest place on earth. He loves fishing, so he just sits there and goes fishing for a while. I'm not sure what he's fishing for. Probably just more kids, if I'm being honest. And the rest of the family just has to sit there and go, Dad, this is really, really boring. Can we go home? And he eventually gives in because he goes, you know what? I have a better idea of what I could be doing with my time at home. And they go home, and he just keeps having more kids. That's his bright idea. And eventually they're like, this is seriously enough, kids. Why don't we do something else? Let's mix it up. And they switch it up, and they have a dog instead. And they love that dog, and I know how much that dog meant to the family. And you can see how much that dog meant to the family, or at least how much the dog meant to the photographer. This is not cropped. This is how the photograph was taken. And it is clearly about a dog. Photo about a dog. And eventually that dog passed, and they left a large hole in their hearts and in their family, and they were like, what are we gonna do to fill this void that this dog has left? And obviously my grandfather stood there and said, I have an idea. They just kept having more kids, just went back, more kids, and they even adopted the neighbor kid just to add to the family. My grandmother in the end had an entire fleet of children. I love this photograph because I got it off the internet and you believed it. My grandmother in the end had 6 kids. Just still a huge family by today's standards back then. Still considered a slouch by the church for not having more donators. Disciples, sorry, I get those words confused. And, those children's names are John, Sharon, Pete, Callie, Dodie, and Shenta. Now what I love about their names is there's actually only one of them that goes by his real name his entire life. The rest of them all have changed their name legally, or have stage names or nicknames growing up. Sharon is her real name, but growing up she goes by Desiree, she goes by Destiny, she goes by Desire, she goes by Candy, she goes by Honey, she goes by Cinnamon. It took 6, but you guys got there, yeah. She was a stripper. She also played in an all-girls topless band called 8 of a Kind. There was 4 of them. It's a very good joke, Sharon. It's a very good joke. Pete is the youngest of the boys, and Pete is Pete Puckalini growing up. That's his name growing up. Pete Puckalini. Can't think of a more Canadian name. It has Puck in it. Not his real name. Real name, Donald Alexander. How do you get Pete out of that? Also, their last name is Cubie, and his is Puckalini. Who lets their child change their own last name? Pretty sure he's the neighbor kid. Callie is Caroline. She's always Callie, though. She always goes by Callie. Sometimes it's Callie with a C, sometimes with a K, sometimes one L, sometimes 2 L's, sometimes I, sometimes IE, sometimes EY, sometimes IY, sometimes just Y, sometimes just I, sometimes just E. I'm not saying she's illiterate, but she can't spell her own fucking name. John is the oldest boy, and John is the only one that goes by his real name his whole life. He's always called John. The only problem with that is that John is named John after his father, John. Yeah, which means there are now 2 Johns in the family. And he is the only one that should have a nickname. And doesn't. And they have to give the nickname to one of them to decipher, and so they end up giving the nickname to their father instead. Anyone want to take a stab at what that might have been? Johnny. Perfect. I don't know why they didn't think of that. Nope. Anybody else? Jack. Totally. Easy. Yeah. Dad. Super nice, right? Would have been great. Senior would have worked. Big John. Johnny boy, you know? Anybody else? They went with Junior. Called their dad Junior. That means this kid came out, usurped his father's name, looked him in the eye, and was like, hi, I'm now John. You were now called something else. You were now called Junior. Ta-ta, bye-bye. Guess that's what it's like to be the oldest. I love that. Shenta is my mother. That's the name that I've always known her as is Shenta. That's not her real name, obviously. Her real name is Patsy, Patricia Lynn, actually. Very white trash name. She didn't care for it very much. decided to change it on a whim, not really sure how, probably just like astronomy or astrology or just a Ouija board. Just stared into a bucket of seawater or crystals or something. It was crystals, crystal meth. And too early for that. But I never knew her real name until I was 10 years old. My older brother didn't know until he was 6. She never bothered to tell us her real name, because what if they find me? It's just the kind of family we had. Dodie is the youngest. Dodie is originally Dorothy Ann. She later goes by Deanne. But growing up, she's called Dodie. And I believe that's because everyone doted on Dodie. Everyone did everything for Dodie, to the point where Dodie realized she never actually had to talk, because her needs were always anticipated and met before she ever had to say anything. And so she realized this nice life of luxury. She never has to speak a word. And so she decides, I'm never going to. And she doesn't for years. When she's 4 and 5, family, friends will come around and be like, hi, I've known you forever. And I've never heard, is it broken? And instead of explaining to their friends that they've coddled her to the point that she doesn't feel the need to speak, it's way funner and way easier to just prank their friends and go, oh yeah, that one. Oh, we don't talk about it. Doctor cut the wrong cord. Anyways, it's cursed by a witch. More salad? Just never actually resolve it. And it's not until she's 8 or 9, she's been in the public school system a couple years, where they're not coddling her in that same regard, and she's having to use the language that she's known this entire time. And they're having a dinner party. There's about 12 guests sitting at the table, and Dodie's sitting at the end, kicking her feet and eating her toast, and she realizes she didn't just want toast, she wants butter on her toast, and she looks down the table at all these people that have never heard her speak and goes, hey, can you please pass the butter? About 8 people fall out of their chairs. Oh my God, it's a miracle. Your little sister spoke. She grew a tongue. The curse has been lifted. The whole family just goes, fuck, you're gullible, huh? These are the children that I was raised by, you guys. These are the children that my grandmother had the pleasure of raising, and I'm pretty sure that these kids are the reason that my grandmother's catchphrase is. Anyways. If it surprises no one to learn, Dodie, the child that never likes to talk, grows up to be an interpretive dancer. No joke. She's here tonight and she'll be dancing with the Winnipeg Contemporary Dance Troupe this next coming month. She's so good at charades. And when she's about 12 or 13, she's having a dance recital in this beautiful gymnasium. And the whole family goes out to support. Jean's the Jeep, the other 5 kids, they all sit in the front row. They're so excited to support and to watch their sister, their daughter dance. And showtime comes and goes like any other Fringe show. Nothing happens. Lights fully on, curtains fully drawn, stage empty. 4:30, nothing happens. And my grandma's not like necessarily like an impatient person, but things have to start and end on time for her, because that is the only way that you get bowling and bocce and bridge into every single day. That's the only way you do it. And so the fact that it hadn't started on time was starting to panic her, realizing it might not end on time, realizing she might be late for bowling or bocce and bridge. You do not get to mess with bridge. Bridge is my grandmother's favorite thing in the world, to the point where, like, if you ask her at 90, Grandma, what's your proudest moment in your whole life? She'd go, bridge. You'd be like, you raised 6 amazing children. She'd go, yeah, none of them could beat me at bridge. So much she loves bridge. And when she's living in an old folks home, I used to call her and go, hey, Grandma, how was bridge today? And she'd go, oh, I lost on purpose. They hate me when I win all the time. Oh, good, you're 94, you finally learned how to make friends. Good. She loves bridge, and you don't get to mess with that. And the fact that it hadn't started on time was really starting to panic her. She's rattling her fingernails on the armrest. And about 15 minutes in, nothing's happened, and she's not rattling anymore. She's looking for the bolts underneath to just take the chair with her and go. She's getting very, very impatient, and finally, the house lights come down. She goes, okay, it's gonna be fine. I'll be late for bridge, but I won't miss, I'll be late for bowling, but I won't miss bridge. It's gonna be fine, it's gonna be okay. And still, nothing happens, and she's just sitting there going, this is really my fault. I only should have ever had 5. She's really on me right now. And finally, the curtains part, and she's like, okay, it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen, it's gonna be fine, and still, nothing happens. And she goes, it's going to be weird showing up to bridge with blood on my hands. It's going to be awkward. It's going to be very... And finally, nothing happens. Nothing happens. And finally, what does happen is my grandmother leans back in her chair, looks at an empty stage, and goes, hey, we're ready! Yeah, yelled at 12-year-olds. You guys, how do you feel about that? Cool thing to do? I don't know. But if anyone feels like that during this show, please feel free to do what my grandmother should have done. Just leave. It's fine. It's totally fine. It's not that big of a deal. But that's who she was. She would do anything with anybody, anytime, so long as it started and ended on time and it didn't affect bridge, because she loves bridge. It's her favorite thing in the whole world. You don't get to mess with bridge. Every form of bridge is good bridge to my grandmother. Jeff Bridge, Lloyd Bridge, real bridges. She's the queen of bridge. Through and through, she's so good at cards, every kind of cards, to the point where two of my cousins started playing online poker, won their college tuitions 2 years in a row, and we went, oh yeah? You think you're hot shit? Why don't you try playing grandma? She cleaned them out in 5 minutes. And we were all like, oh, how can we weaponize grandma? She got 5 MacBooks bought for her that year. It was very, very funny. And not only into her 90s is my grandmother super sharp and super good at cards, she's also still the epicenter of our family. She's still the matriarch through and through. She is our glue that holds us all together. It's kind of this thing of like, if there's a family event, obviously you should go. It's a family event, you're expected. But at the same time, if you can't make it, it's permissible, unless grandma's going to be there. Because if grandma's going to be there, well, she's 1,000,000 years old. What's your excuse? 2, she's 1,000,000 years old. You might not see her again. It's time to go see grandma. And 3, because my grandmother travels exclusively by horse. Okay, that's a dirty, rotten lie, but it's a 90-year-old woman on a horse. I had to get that photo in there somehow. And it's always this question of like, hey, are you gonna go to this thing? And the answer is always inevitably, well, grandma's going, so I guess I have to. And 3 years ago, I got a call from my cousin Rebecca asking, hey, are you going to be at my wedding? That's a photo from the wedding. And I said, well, yeah, grandma's going, so I guess I have to. Also, it's in the same city that I live, so I should be able to make that. And my grandmother flew out for that wedding, and it was so beautiful. It meant so much to all of us to have her there. And she flew all the way from Winnipeg to Vancouver, which is about the distance of Winnipeg to here. She hadn't flown in 5 years, and it meant so much that she would get on a plane and be there. And in perfect Joyce Keeby fashion, she ran up and down every single aisle, met every single person, had a conversation with them, and they could still remember their names afterwards. It was amazing. It's something I still can't do. My temporal lobe does not work like that. I'm shit with names. Half of you are my friends in here. I'm not even going to try. I will embarrass myself so badly. I have family in here that I'll get wrong. Do you understand? I'm so bad with names. And my grandmother would remember everyone's name. And it was so beautiful to have her there. And she took a picture every time she could. She signed the guest book. It was so lovely to have her there. Now, the other thing that happens at this wedding is that I'm expected to give a speech. My cousin comes up to me and is like, hey, you're a performer? Great, a show for 200 people that haven't paid. Not at all. I'm so excited to say something. The only problem is I've never met the other family at all. I've met the groom once and that's it. And I have no idea what I'm going to say. And I get up and I make a very bad, very dumb joke. I'm going to tell it to you guys now. You're not going to laugh. Nobody laughed then. I'm not holding on to some idea that one day this is going to be funny, okay? I'm not workshopping a bit on you. It's just you have to hear it because it's important. I got up and I said, hey guys, you don't know me, I don't know you. I'm super excited to welcome you to our family. There's just one little thing. There's just one little tradition that we have that if you're going to join our family, you actually first have to beat us in a game of Red Rover. Yeah, it's a very dumb, very bad joke, and the only reason that you're laughing is because who the fuck says that at a wedding? And the reason I tell you is because the only person that stood up was my grandmother. Front row, 95 years old, just stood up and went, bring it on, brittle bones! You want to join my family? It's through these arms. Everyone died laughing at that. I was cry laughing on stage, looking at my grandma going, Grandma, thank you so much. You saved everything, Grandma. Thank you, you saved my whole joke. Thank you so much, Grandma. She looked up at me and said, what? Anyways, she wandered off. And I love that about her, because that's just exactly who she is. To just be that person, to just drop a joke exactly when it's called for, and then to just walk away and not ramble on too long after that joke has landed and ruin everything. Anyways. Moving back a couple of years, in 1998, we lost my grandfather. The Jeep died. And he was 77 when he passed. Sorry, he was 76 when he passed. My grandmother at the time was 77. I at the time was 5, so I think I have the most authority to tell this story. I remember being a 5-year-old child at this funeral and not really understanding what was going on. I didn't understand love. I didn't understand death. I barely understood life, you know. I'm 26 now. I still don't claim to know what love is. If you ask me right now in this very moment,
What is love? Baby, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me no more.
no more. No more of that. If you ask me right now how I feel about love, I'd be like, oh, I'm much more comfortable with death. Yeah. But as a 5-year-old child at this funeral, I didn't know what was going on. I didn't understand love, and I didn't understand death, and all I had was this very bad Romeo and Juliet complex of like love trumps the grave, and that marriage is forever. And all I know about the relationship is that they've just spent 50 years together, married 50 years that year. And all I can think is that's huge. They're going to want to stay together. That's what love means. Love trumps the grave, and you're going to want to stay together. And all I can remember thinking and believing is that within the week, within the day, or within the hour, my grandmother will die of a broken heart. Yeah, I believed that. Because I was 5. And I didn't understand love or death or my grandmother. You guys in this very moment have more information and more understanding about my grandmother than I did at that funeral when I was 5 years old. Because I was at that funeral, I didn't even clock the fact that she was standing there going, I have bridge. Can we keep this eulogy tight? That's just who she was. She went, you know what, I've had 50 good years with this man. That's gonna tide me over. You know what, I've had 50 good years. It's been up, it's been down, but I've had that time, and now I'm ready to do other things. Just because he's gone doesn't mean that everything ends for me, you know? I hope you guys think about life in that same regard, because that's how she felt, and it was also the fact that, I don't know, it was 50 years of marriage? Guys, anyone here ever been married for 50 years? Close. I've got the pleasure of asking 2 couples on this entire tour. Yeah, 8 months of touring the show, 2 people have been married for that long. Do you want to hear their responses? Because they're great. First couple married over 50 years, I got to ask them, that's amazing, and how do you feel about that? Neither of them even look at me. She just goes, okay. I was like, that makes sense. This is what I expected. Second couple, 60 years, out of Saskatchewan. A guy looked away. She had to answer, and she just went, anyways. Oh, so beautiful to just throw it back at me. I was like, exactly. Because that's how my grandmother felt. She was like, it was 50 years of marriage. You know what? I mean, it was good, but also anything else. Anyway. But the bigger thing is that because my grandmother has this pace of life of she's still going to keep doing things. She still has bowling and bocce and bridge every day. She still has more grandkids coming into the picture every day. She still gets to hang up on relatives anytime they call. And she still gets to be the queen of bridge. So she just keeps on cruising with her life. And I love that about her because it means that I get to have my grandmother into my mid-20s instead of losing her at that funeral as a 5-year-old child. And those years meant so much to me. And I told you guys I've never seen her ride a bicycle. I would not lie to you. That's not a bike. That is my grandmother's own wheelchair. That's how impatient my grandmother is. You're not pushing fast enough. Move, I'll do it. You take the photograph. And I love that. And she cruised on for another 17 years after he passed. And when she got to 90, we're like, wow, 90 years old. That's huge. It's such a big milestone. We've got to celebrate. Let's do something for it. And we throw this big party. We're like, she's going to love it. It's going to be awesome. We have about 80 people in her backyard. We're like, she's going to love it. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be so much fun. She's going to love it. And she absolutely hated it. Only person in this photograph not smiling is my grandmother. We bought her 2 cakes. Couldn't pay this woman to be happy on her 90th birthday. We're like, Grandma, you're 90, there's 80 people here, you have to give a speech, you have to say something. And she didn't want to, but reluctantly she stood up, she tinked her glass, and we're like, yeah, go for it, Grandma. And she tinked it again, we're like, tuning your hearing aids, what's going on? She tinked it the 3rd time, we're like, you're just stalling, come on, Grandma. And this is the speech that she finally gave 80 people in her backyard for her 90th birthday party. She looked over each and every single one of them, and she said, are y'all still here? I guess that's my fault. I'm still here. Yeah, that very, very morbid joke, you guys. That's what she went with. Very tongue-in-cheek, a little bit too much denture, if you ask me. It's very funny. We all laughed, and I started thinking, like, what's going on with Grandma? She doesn't seem to be too stoked to be here. And I started to dig into it. I started to do a little bit of research, and I find something that helps it make sense for me. I find out that in 1921, do you guys know what life expectancy was? It was 60. Yeah. When she was born, she only ever expected to make it to 60 years old. And this is a woman that likes when things start on time and end on time. And here she was at 90 going, what the fuck happened? What do you mean? Why? Why did they put in 150%? I don't understand this at all. Why am I God's greatest employee? What's this for? This account is tapped. Let's go. I started to realize that, and I started to appreciate the fact that she was still here and she was still joking around with us. But it also meant that for the next 6 years of her life, the most common jokes were the most morbid things you've ever heard in your life. They were so funny. They were so funny, but they came from such a weird place that we haven't experienced yet. We all joke about what's in our immediate presence, right? And for my grandmother, that was watching all of her friends pass away without her while she was standing there with a Rhine water in hand going, I'm trying. For the next 6 years, the most common joke to hear out of my grandmother is, what's gonna kill me? It's her favorite thing to say. It's my favorite joke. Her favorite way to do it, dead silent room, newspaper in hand, rocking chair, just stop rocking, drop one corner of the newspaper, look at you and go, hey, what's gonna kill me? Yeah, and your heart snaps every time. You're like, no, nothing's ever gonna kill you. You're gonna live forever. Please don't die, boop. She hates that answer. She just wants you to joke back with her and be like, I don't know, how'd they kill the dinosaurs last time? Grandma, you want to go watch a meteor shower? She just wants to joke around, because you know what? This is my grandmother. Things are never always all good or always all bad. They're always all... Anyways, we'll get through it. And these jokes go on for quite a while, and it's not until she's 94 that my grandmother's actually in a very awful, terrible car accident. She used to race Formula One. And, you can tell it's her from the speech bubble. She's crossing Portage Avenue. It's 6 lanes of traffic in downtown Winnipeg. She gets across the first 3 lanes successfully, but on the 4th lane, she's T-boned. It's not her fault, but she spins out of control. Her car hits a guardrail, flips over it, lands upside down, and she's fine. She's completely unscathed. She walks away from it without a broken bone. Yeah. And she is pissed. She's so mad. She's like, really? Not even this. What's gonna kill me becomes seriously, can anything kill me? Can anything? Somebody better buy me a leotard. I'm pretty sure I'm a superhero. So I'm invincible. And it's finally at this point, at 94 years old, she finally hands in her license. She goes, I don't want that. I don't need to drive anymore. I don't need my license anymore, because clearly that's not gonna do it. At the same time, she gives up her house. She doesn't want her house anymore. She's going to move into a retirement home. And her thinking is that hopefully someone at the retirement home will be sick enough that they can sneeze on me and I'll get to go. And it's a lot of loss of quality of life. It's a lot of loss of freedom. She doesn't have a car to drive herself around. She just has to rely on rides from friends. Thankfully, she still has 80 of those. She's doing okay. She doesn't have a house to put up guests and family when they visit. She just has this 1-bedroom apartment and this retirement home. But this is my grandmother. Things are never always all good or always all bad. They're always all anyways, and there's still more grandkids coming into the picture every day, and she still gets to hang up on relatives anytime they call. She still gets to be the queen of bridge. So she just keeps on cruising with her life, and I love that about her. But the other thing that starts to happen when she's in this retirement home is that she starts having all these like random falls. You know, she'll just like fall down because she's a million, her body's made out of dust, you know. I'm not trying to body shame the elderly here, guys. I'm 26, I already have a bad hip, okay? I'm just trying to say, like, if you're at that age, if you're at that fragility, maybe you should know something about your body, is that you can no longer throw your scarf on. Okay? Just like get a good stance, give it a safe wind, all right? Egyptian cotton's too heavy to go on damp. That's all I'm trying to say. My point with that is that they're always random falls. There's no like reason that she should be falling. There's no condition of any kind that we know of. And the doctors are actually still too scared at this point because at this age, if they poke her and prod her with needles, they're worried that they'll kill her, and that's what she wants. We can't do that. So we never get to find out why she's having all these random falls. And it goes on for about 1.5 years, and every time that she falls, our biggest fear is that we might have lost her to some fall in the middle of the night, and we would have never even got to say goodbye. And that breaks us up the most. The idea that we would have never even got to say goodbye. And one morning we got a call around 8 a.m. To let us know that she's been checked into hospital. And we asked why. Did she have a fall? And they say, well,
It looks like she did. She says she didn't, but either way, she was throwing up, which is unusual. That's maybe something new, or maybe this is escalated. Either way, we're going to run some tests on her. And so finally, they rush her across the street to the Grace General Hospital to do some tests, which, by the way, is exactly where all old people should live. This is right across the street from a hospital. You know? Again, I'm not trying to shame the elderly here. Guys, it's just like when you're 20, you live above a bar. You know? And then in your 40s, you live by a park, right? Unless you don't have kids, in which case, fuck off. You're being weird. So they rush her across the street to Grace General Hospital, and they start doing some tests on her. We got a call to let us know that they found out that she's having a brain bleed. If you know anything about it, it's a very serious condition. Within the first 8 hours, it can kill you. After that, you're likely to make a full recovery, but in those first 8 hours, there is an imminence of death. And we get this call and we say, okay, wow, that's a lot. So let me get this straight. Like, how did it happen? Like, she fell down, hit her head, got a concussion, that led to a brain bleed. That's usually how this kind of thing would happen. And she has been having those falls. And they say, no, actually, this is what's been causing her falls the whole time. And we go, oh, wow. Okay. But so then how did she get the brain bleed in the first place? And they say, well, she's 95. And we pause, because that's not a complete sentence. We're like, I'm sorry, are you still there? And they go, yeah. And we go, oh, okay. Could you put a doctor on, maybe? And they go, I am the doctor. And we go, oh, cool, yeah. So, like, what's your medical opinion on this one, huh? And they go, she's 95. We're like, okay, cool. Still looking for, like, a diagnosis here, or like a condition or something. And they go, yeah, she's 95. And they break it down, they go, it's like this. It's like your grandma's like an old building with a rusted pipe that's burst. And we go, oh, I'm sorry. Did you just call my grandmother an old building? Because I'll come at you with a rusted pipe, sir. But that's their honest diagnosis. She's just at that age where her body has started to deteriorate without her before her mind. She's still sharp enough that same year to remember everyone's name at the wedding, but now her body has started to go before her mind. And we start to realize that this really might be the time we lose her, and there still might be this window of opportunity to get to go say goodbye. And so we decide, you know what, it's time to go see Grandma. And everyone that can flies out as soon as they can, and I get a phone call to say, hey, are you going to go see Grandma? And I said, well, yeah, Grandma's going, so I guess I have to. And we all fly out from everywhere that we live. We all book our plane tickets, and we all fly out from everywhere, from Vancouver, from Toronto, from Abbotsford, because I don't know if you've ever been to Abbotsford, but it's shit. And any excuse to get out is a good excuse, you know? It'd be like Abbotsford, yeah, or Mission, or Chilliwack, you know? And in perfect QB fashion, every single one of us remembers to book a plane ticket. Not a single one of us remembers to book a hotel. Yeah, it's Thanksgiving weekend, apparently the busiest weekend in Winnipeg, because there's no vacancy anywhere. We can't get a hotel, a motel, or even an RV park to let us put up tents. Not that we tried, but we're just so used to living with Grandma in her big house, we had never thought about it. We hadn't thought about it for a second. We got there, and there was nothing else we could do. We kind of started laughing, like, well, it's kind of silly. It was kind of going to be a lot of fun to do that. And so 12 of us moved into my grandmother's one-bedroom apartment in a retirement home. Yeah. And they hated us. Yeah, because there's like 12 of us too many. Also, there's not one of us within 30 years of the minimum age requirement required to live there. And it's a bit of a family reunion, you know, so we're telling old stories, and we're drinking, and my grandma might die, so like we're drinking, and they keep coming around being like, this is not a flop house. We're like, my grandma said we could be here, it's cool, slam. My Aunt Callie owns a dispensary. She's in the alleyway hucking back doobies every day. And they hate us because we turn this adorable little retirement complex into an absolute rave party. And they hate us, and we don't care that they hate us because it means that we get to be with our grandmother in her time of need, and we get to spend those 8 hours with her. And we're so fortunate to get to have those 8 hours. It meant so much because at the end of those 8 hours, my grandmother is declared stable. She's totally fine. She's going to make a full recovery. And she is pissed. She's so mad again. She's like, really? Not even this? Not even this can do it? Are you serious? I can't even think myself dead? You know I'm a superhero, right? We're like, Grandma, this is amazing. You're going to make a full recovery. And she looks at us and goes, I don't want to. And I started to remember, like, oh, yeah, you retired 6 years ago. Like, you've really ran your marathon. Has anyone here ever ran a marathon, by the way? No. Yeah, why would you? That's how I started looking at my grandmother's life. Of like, she made it into 95 years old. A marathon is 42 and a half kilometers. So two back-to-back marathons would be 85. So like 85 years old, she made it through 2 back-to-back marathons, right? And then here she is, 10K into her 3rd back-to-back marathon. And here we are going, go for it, Grandma, you got this. Yeah, and she just went, fuck you. Let's see you do it. Because who wants to run 2 back-to-back marathons? There's one similarity between being very, very old and running a marathon. You will poop yourself. I started to realize, like she's ran her marathon. She's had a great life. She's got to do everything that she's wanted to and more. And I'm so fortunate that I've got to have her for this long. And I understand that mentality. And it's actually the moment in hospital that she asks us for a maid. We don't understand what that is. We can't really wrap our brains around it because we're like, this is a hospital. You're like in the cleanest place on earth. You really don't need a maid. And also, we haven't totally destroyed your place. We were going to clean up. And we get to find out from our grandmother that maid here in Canada means something much different. Here in Canada, maid is actually an acronym. And maid stands for, my, aren't I done yet? Not going to buy it, are you? Damn. MAID stands for Medical Assistance in Dying, or Medical Assistance in Death. It is a program that we have here as of 2015. Legislation was passed. In 2016, it became available for use. And in 2017, my grandmother got to request this program. It's a beautiful program that I have so much respect for now that I know more about it. I will condemn it for one reason and one reason only, and that is the title. I think for something that is a voluntary, medically assisted euthanasia, MAID is a real bad name. Just want to warn you all that the next time you go to order a MAID, you check the fine print. They might try to clean up your whole life. Other than that, it's such a great program. It means so much to so many people, and I have so much respect for it. One, there are so many great checks and balances. You have to be terminally ill or at least seemingly close to the end in order to access it. You don't just get to be a young person that likes emo music. Yeah, you don't just get to like AFI and then fuck off. It doesn't work like that. You also have to be the person that's going to be taking the program to be the person to sign up. You don't just get to start arbitrarily signing other people up, okay? Just because you had a disagreement on the bus doesn't mean that you get to kill Jerry, all right? That's not how that works. You have to live with your siblings, I'm sorry. And but there are so many great checks and balances of it, and that is what we're talking about is the MAID program, and that's something super different. That's the Maid of the Mist. Yeah, that's actually that's how they used to do it. So, just load up a bowl full, ship it into the falls, you know? Before the ride, you get a poncho, doubles as a body bag, and that's why it doesn't run anymore. But that is what we're talking about is medically assisted voluntary euthanasia or assisted suicide and all the Simpsons. And every time I bring it up, and I bring it up a lot, I'm not popular at parties, someone will always say the same thing. There's always at least one person that says this. There's always one person that goes, that's good for dogs. I don't understand how you would arbitrarily choose for another living being, but you wouldn't let yourself choose for yourself. That never makes sense to me. I always argue with this person of like, okay, sure, but why wouldn't you let yourself choose for you? And they always argue, well, you know, dogs get old, their hips start to hurt, you know, and I'm like, I'm 26, my hips already hurt. And they're like, well, my dog was 13 when we had to put him down. I'm like, that's 96 in your dog years. That's how old my grandma was. Why can't she choose? And they always argue like, oh, you know, it's people. You can do more for people, you know? I don't understand. I'm like, why can't my grandmother have this? And they're like, you could do more for her. Have you tried anything else? Have you tried stringing her up like a marionette puppet? Have you tried that? Have you tried maybe putting her head in a jar of water? Have you tried that? And I go, I love the fact that she had this choice, because this choice meant so much to her. And also, she had to lay in bed for the rest of her life. That wasn't a life to her. This is James and Cruising. That was never going to work. And also, this point is so particular to me because, well, not particular to me, but I hate it so much. So many people, I had to argue with Australia the whole time. Oh my God. Every single show, someone would come up to me and go, you know, you're advocating death. And I go, you know, you missed the point. I'm not advocating death here at all. Anybody? I'm not advocating for your choice. Anything that gives you choice over your own body should be just an immediate right, an immediate freedom. Do you not agree? Do you not want the choice of your own body? That's what I thought. I was tepid, but... But I had to argue that with Australia every single time. I was like, guess what, Australia? Here's the thing about choice. You can still say no. That's the cool part about choice. You have options. I don't understand it. I always say, like, why can't we have this choice? You don't have to use it. This is for people if they so choose to use it, if they want to. She asked for this program, and we immediately said, yes, if this is what you want, then that's what we'll do. Because, one, this is our alpha. We've never won an argument with her in our lives before. This does not feel like the place to start. And also because that's what love is. That's what unconditional love means, is that you will be okay with someone else's choices even when they affect you negatively. We were going to miss the shit out of her, but if this is what she wants, then we're going to stand behind that. So we're going to do it. So we started going through all the paperwork, and there was a lot of red tape to get through, and we eventually had to find a different doctor. Her own doctor wouldn't do it because he had religious ties, which churches are cool. And we eventually found one in a back alley in a garage somewhere, and did it for car parts. It was super cheap. It was great. And we decided, you know what? At least this way we get to say goodbye. And so everyone that hasn't already flown out flies out because Grandma's really going this time, and we get to take our time with it. We get to say goodbye, and we get to go through all those last little moments and get to say all those last little things that we would be so pained to have missed. So we start going through old photo books. And this is a photograph of my grandmother down at the lake on one of those fishing trips. She's about 38 in this photograph. And this is another photo of my grandmother down at the lake on one of those same fishing trips. She's about 45 in this photo. 6 kids, you guys, 6. It will age you. This is my grandmother with my mother, my 2 brothers, and my fat-faced little cousin, Jeff. And this is my grandmother with her oldest son, John Sr. He's always been that old. This is my grandmother on her 95th birthday party. And I love this photo, and I use it because, 1, I love it, and 2, I don't have one of her on her 96th. It's not because she didn't make it. She did make it in 96. It's just she's lying in hospital. It's not a very flattering photograph. And it's actually on her 96th birthday party that we're trying to celebrate with her. We're trying to raise her spirits. We're trying to keep her up and be like, this is amazing, you're 96, but we're waiting to hear back from the maid. And we're trying to celebrate this birthday. And we're like, Grandma, this is amazing, you're 96. Did you ever think that you'd be 96? Grandma, this is awesome, you're 96. Did you ever think that you would make it in 96? And she just goes, I thought 69, maybe. And we're like, weird time for a weird sex joke, Grandma. You're 96, that's fine. And it's on this birthday party that we're trying to celebrate that we get word back from the MAID program. We find out that she is, in fact, eligible. And we will be losing our grandmother within the next 2 weeks. It's a very, very difficult thing to hear, and it's a very dampening mood to put on this birthday party for us. For her, she couldn't have been more excited. She was so stoked. She was like, best birthday present ever! We just went, oh yeah, that's what you wanted. We couldn't find it in stores. Just started returning all the other gifts. She's not going to have time for them anyways. And this gift gives her so much joy. She's so excited. 1, she's been a palliative care nurse in her 40s. She was so excited for the medical community, and she was so proud of her country to have this. She was also going to have to live in a bed, and she was very, very dizzy anytime she stood up, and she was very excited to not have to live like that. To get to go out on her own terms excited her so much, and it gave her so much joy that it, in fact, was the turning point to her life. In this moment, she had been very, very sullen up until this point, and finally, this gave her so much joy. There was finally a beginning and an end to this story, and she got so excited. She decided for the last 2 weeks of her life, she was going to get into her life as much comedy as she possibly could. No, she did not ask me to do stand-up. She saw me at the wedding. My grandmother was very, very funny, and this is the joke that she started every single morning with. In Grace General Hospital, on the wall in her hospital room, sat a sign that said, checkout time at this hospital is 10 a.m., which is ridiculous in and of itself, because this is a hospital, not a hotel. How about checkout time is whenever you fix me? Instead, it just says, hey, are you still bleeding? Cool, well, it's 10. And every single morning, my grandmother would wake up and she would look at this sign. She would look at the clock, and if the clock said 10 a.m., she would point at the sign, point at the clock, and look at you and go, where are they? Every morning, that's how we started. Where are they? You just had to joke back with her at 11, 12, 1, be like, oh, Grandma, you're over your time. Oh, Grandma, you're over your time. And she'd go, good one. No, seriously, kill me. It was so funny. And her other favorite thing to do anytime anybody walked in, any new person that walked in, her favorite thing to do to fuck with them was to just sit up in bed, look at them and go, is it you? As if you're the doctor now. Like you're death itself. Oh, one day it's a janitor that walked in and she went, is it you? And we went, Grandma, that's a janitor. That's a different kind of maid entirely. He has no context. He doesn't know what's going on here. Why don't you leave that nice man alone? And her answer to that is to go, he has strong hands. Yeah, that's a smothering joke that my 96-year-old grandmother made. And then she threw him a pillow. Oh. And every single day goes like this. Every single day is this bittersweet thing where we get bad news and then her attitude towards that news turns it into good news. We'll hear back from the MAID program in just a couple days to find out that they're not actually going to make her wait the full 10-day waiting period. They're only going to make her wait 3 more days. And their reasoning for that, and I quote, they were worried she wasn't going to make it. Yeah, and you're like, so? The same, right? Just turn the other way, it's fine. But the reasoning is if she gets to the day and can't consent, then she has to recover or has to go on her own terms, potentially over a great period of time, potentially very painfully, or actually recover to the point where she can consent, which I think we can all agree is much more ironic to have to sit in hospital going, I gotta get better, so I can die. So to alleviate that, they bump up her time. It's a very difficult thing to lose those 7 days we thought that we had with her. And at the same time, we're brought right back up when we ask, Grandma, can you wait 3 more days? And she goes, if I have to. We're like, you have to. And she goes, can it be 2? And we're like, no, it's got to be 2. She goes, be cooler if it was 2. We're like, no, Grandma, it's 3 more days. And we get to spend those 3 days with her. And there's a lot of bittersweet things that go on in that time. I don't know if you guys have ever had the displeasure of booking a funeral, but it's not a fun thing to have to do. However, it is a little bit fun when you book a funeral for someone who's not dead yet. It's a little bit of fun to call up a funeral director and be like, hi, we need a funeral for Sunday. And they go, and the deceased is? And you go, not deceased. Yeah, they have a lot of questions. Yeah. Mostly, what? What do you mean? We're like, oh no, they will be dead on Saturday. Yeah. Why do you know that? Oh, we have it arranged. Click. It took 4 funeral homes for that to stop being funny. And it also meant that she got to plan out her funeral with us. She got to pick out the flowers. She got to pick out what music will be played. She got to call everyone on the RSVP list and go, thank you so much for being at my funeral. It means so much to me. Almost makes me wish I was going to be there. She gets to call everyone that has an RSVP and just goes, you're not going to be at my funeral? I babysat your kids for 10 years. You better be at my funeral. They were there, you guys. They were there. They made it. And every single day it goes like this, and we get to spend that time. And I remember I get to sit with my grandmother thinking about everything that we don't want to say before she leaves. And she wakes up. It's 9 o'clock, and she's so excited because the day has finally come. To her words, not mine. It was planned for Saturday morning at 10 a.m. Obviously, it has to be at 10 a.m. Hospital's full. She wakes up at 9 o'clock, and she's so excited. She looks at me and goes, 1 more hour! 1 more hour! Only it's 9 p.m. the day before. And I have to look at her and go, no, Grandma, you have to live for 13 more hours. I've never had my grandmother that mad at me in my life. I went 13 more hours, and she wrote me out of the will. Like, 13 more hours is a life sentence. She was so mad. She's like, what? 13? She fell back asleep so hard I thought she died. Like, I was like, 13 more hours. She went, what? Ugh! Straight into a grave. I just sat up thinking about everything I was going to want to say for real this time. I was like, that was a lot, and I'm going to miss you so much. And I just held on to her hand and had a Ryan water, and I fell asleep around 4 or 5 a.m. and I woke up at 8 a.m. when the whole family started to gather. We decided we were going to spend those last 2 hours together saying goodbyes, and then at 10 a.m. when the doctors arrived, we would say our final goodbye, and that would be that. We all gathered. There's about 15 of us that pile into this room, and as we enter, she wakes up a little bit, and we say, "Hi, Grandma!" She doesn't say anything. She just looks at the sign and looks at the clock, but it doesn't say time yet. So she just goes, "Anyways," and she goes back to sleep. And at 9 a.m., we started to practice Danny Boy, which is the song that she's asked us to sing to her on our way out, and we nail it. Yeah, she wakes up, and we hope that she hears a little bit of it, because we nailed it. Showtime, not so much. And then she looks at the sign, and she looks at the clock, but it doesn't say time yet. And we go, "Hi, Grandma." She didn't say anything, just sign, clock, not time. Anyways, back to sleep. And at 10 a.m., she wakes up, and we say, "Hi, Grandma." She doesn't say anything, just sign, clock. Finally, it says time. She points at the sign, points at the clock, and just as she looks at us to go say, "Where are they?" the doctors start to walk in the door. And we say, "Hi, Grandma." And she says, "Bye!" We're like, "No, we said hi, Grandma." We said hi, and she says hi. Bye. And we think at least we get to say goodbye. So let's do it. I love you, Grandma. Thank you so much for everything that you've ever done for us. Thank you so much for all the strong choices you've made in your life. Thank you for raising such good kids with such great morals. And I love you so much. I'm going to miss you so much, but thank you for everything that you've done for us and of all that you've given us. And thank you so much for your humor that you've given us in your life. I'm going to miss you so incredibly much. I love you. I can't believe you're making this choice. I think it's beautiful. I think it's so strong, and I don't even think that I'd be strong enough to make the same choice even at your age. I'm going to miss you so much. Thank you. I love you, Grandma. And the entire time that we're saying this, she's just pointing at the sign and the clock. Like she's on the runway just guiding in her own plane. We're like, "I love you, I'm going to miss you." She's just standing there guiding in her own plane. And we're like, "What are you late for, though?" She keeps guiding in her plane. We're like, "I love you, I'm going to miss you." And finally, she just leans back in her hospital bed, looks at the doctors and goes, "Hey, we're ready!" Yeah, Grandma, we're ready too. We're ready too. And I get to take her hand. I get to say one last thing. And I take my grandma's hand. I say, "Grandma, do you remember what's going to kill me?" Do you remember that joke, Grandma? What's going to kill me? That always killed me, Grandma. I thought that was so funny. She took her hand as she always did, and she shrugged it. She looked at me and said, "Guess it's got to be me, huh?" What a savage joke, you guys. Like, hey, I'm dying next. But here's one more sick joke just for you, kids. I was like, "Thank you, Grandma. That was perfect. I love you so much. Thank you." It's at that moment that we get kicked out of the room. They have to gain consent from the person, one-on-one, just the doctors and the patient, to make sure that this is still their choice and that this has been what they've wanted and that no one has been pressuring them into this. And we're listening from the hallway, and we hear them ask, "Joyce," they call her Joyce, not James, because they're medical professionals. "Joyce, do you know why you're here today?" And the answer has to be yes for them to go through with this. "Joyce, do you know why you're here today?" And we hear her answer, "No." And again, our hearts snap because we're like, "I don't understand. This is what she wanted. I don't get it. Was somebody pressuring her?" And we start looking around for a culprit. That's crazy. There isn't one. And we started to get excited. We're like, maybe she just got to this point. She just wants to stick around. And maybe we get to have our grandmother for one more day or one more hour or one more year. I would love to have my grandmother for one more hour. And then we hear her answer, "No, I don't know why I'm still here." What is this service, an Earl's? I asked you for this 2 weeks ago. We started to laugh because we realized, oh, Grandma just wants one more joke. Good. We hear the doctors laugh and they correct themselves and they go, "Sorry, Joyce, do you understand why we are here today, Joyce? Do you get why we're here?" And she says, "Yes, because it's a beautiful day to die." So my grandmother's last words on earth. It's a beautiful day to die. Those are her last words. It's also a Die Hard quote. I don't know if you're familiar with the Bruce Willis film. But it's very easy to be okay when someone leaves this world when their last words are, "Yippee-ki-yay!" Okay, you seem ready. It's on those words that we get let back into the room. And just another note on last words. If anyone has anything they'd like to share with me after the show, please feel free. There was someone in Cumberland that came up to me, and it was maybe my favorite. They said, I loved your grandmother's last words. I just like to share with you my husband's. He got to take the same program a year prior, and on his deathbed, he held my hand, looked me dead in the eyes, and after 40 years of marriage, my husband's last words to me, 40 years of marriage, he looked me dead in the eye and he said, I'm going to sleep better than you tonight. Peace. What an absolute dickhead. Like, yeah, dude, for sure. She's going to be at home crying. So good, guys. Make them count. So, my grandmother's, it's a beautiful day to die, and we get let back in, and I'm hitting people in the arm going, that's a Die Hard quote. Fuck, Grandma's funny. And we get to take her hand and say, I love you, I'm going to miss you. We don't all get to take her hand. There's 15 of us at this point. Some of us are just clutching loose skin, to be honest. But y'all kind of get a piece because you're not really sure what happens next. You're like, maybe she's a spaceship. Maybe we all go. I don't know. We all take a piece and say, I love you, I'm going to miss you. And we get to sing to her as she leaves. We sing Danny Boy, which is a beautiful song. We sing it just like that in the rehearsal. Showtime, not so much. Because you need to know something about my family is that we hit our notes like we hit our spouses. Yeah. Not at all. Not even a little bit. No. My dad's pretty musical, but yeah, we're going to get him a maid. Clean that right up. It'll be fun. And with that, it was she lays there. We get to hold on and say, I love you. I'm going to miss you. And we get to sing her out of this world. And my grandmother gets to pass peacefully and happy and surrounded by her family. And I can't think of a better way to go. But it still meant that my grandmother, my James, my glue to the family was gone. She was 96 years old, and she loved Rhine water. And she was gone. Anyway, thank you guys so much for coming out. Life goes on. Thank you so much for being here. Young Jamesy. I hope that you take the moral of this story as life goes on, and just because something's difficult doesn't mean it's not worth it. And I hope you persevere through it and continue to hold those people that you love close, even after they're gone. I love getting to do this show because it reconnects me to my grandma, and it's so much fun getting to tell you all these silly jokes, and it's my favorite. Thank you so much for being here. What did I want to say? There is an epilogue to the show, which is, because I'm told there is an epilogue to life. And that is the fact that I dedicate this show to a man by the name of Jack of Jack's Story and the Road to Mercy. I would like to dedicate the show to Jack of Jack's Story because a lot of people have asked why I do that, why I would dedicate it to a living human being instead of my grandmother, who one it's clearly about, and who is also clearly passed. And I would say, well, one, she's the main character. I think she's had enough stage time at this point. And two, also, her story is a happy one because she had a choice in the matter. Her choice in that is the reason that I can joke about this and the reason that we can all laugh about it. Jack's not as fortunate. He's asked for the program several times and he's been denied every single time. And I would like to ask you guys that if you were faced with a disabling brain condition such as Alzheimer's or dementia, where you basically whittle away into insanity until you don't know your own family. And usually the cause of death is that you choke on your own tongue because your body forgets how to swallow. I'd like to ask you if you had the difference between having to go that painful route and having this choice by this program, by a round of applause, how many people would choose this program? Yeah. About 80%, pretty typical. I'm the same. I will tell you, you're not allowed. Even though it's available here in Canada to you, you are not allowed. You're barred, you're banned, you're deemed unsound of mind. Because it's a brain issue, you're deemed incompetent to make your own choices, and you're basically stamped as insane. That's where Jack is sitting right now. He's asked for the program several times. He still lives with Alzheimer's. He has days that he doesn't recognize his own wife, and on the days that he does, he's very upset with himself for not having, and with his disease for not having been able to recognize her the day before. And I think that's a really shitty place to have to live. And I would like to ask you guys that if you ever have a chance, if you ever think about the show again, and you're able to write to your local MP or talk to somebody about it, or at least vote on it if it comes up. I just think that that's one checks and balance of the program that I would like to see opened up to more people who are suffering. You're not even currently allowed to put it in a living will prior to getting the disease that says, hey, upon getting this disease, I have to go insane. I'd like to not have to go insane. That seems pretty logical to say, but you're not allowed. And I think I just like to ask you, if you ever get a chance, if you ever get to do something, or you ever just like think about the story and the fact that that choice gave my grandmother so much joy, and Jack is feeling so stuck, and you see the government, I just like to ask you, just give him this face for me. Just do that. Just do that. If you need more information on the program, please check out the website. And if you are feeling alone in the world, please know that you're not. Please reach out. Please talk to each other, check in. And if you need it, please call the Vancouver Crisis Support Line. They can give you so much help, so many recommendations on like blues, jazz, R&B, There's more out there. Thank you so much for being here. Cheers.